35 years old, living paycheck to paycheck, and feeling like a failure because of it. That post got almost 900 upvotes and over 300 comments, which tells you something. This person is not alone. Hey Profiteer, Eric here. Welcome back to Real Money Stories. Today's episode comes from the povertyfinance subreddit, and it's one of those posts that's less of a question and more of a gut punch. Here's the situation. Someone posted a short, raw message that clearly hit a nerve with a lot of people. Let me read it to you in their own words. That's where I am. I'm 35 years old and I'm barely making. I live paycheck to paycheck. I slowly am building a savings, slowly keeping it tight with my budget. I wonder if a lot of these posts are people in their 20s. BC, I get struggling in your 20s. I feel like a failure in my 30s. Okay, first thing I want to say reading this, that last line lands hard. I feel like a failure in my 30s. And I think a lot of people reading that felt it in their chest, because society has this invisible checklist. By 35, you're supposed to own a home, have a retirement account humming along, maybe a kid or a partner, or both. And when the reality doesn't match, it's easy to internalize that gap as personal failure. But here's what I noticed that the original poster might not even realize they're saying. They're building savings. They're keeping a tight budget. That's not failure. That's traction. Slow traction, sure, but traction. I've been writing about personal finance for over a decade now, and the pattern I keep seeing is this. The people who feel like failures are often the ones actually doing the work. The ones spending recklessly rarely stop long enough to feel bad about it. So let's talk about what I'd probably do if I were in this person's shoes. And I want to be clear. I don't know their income, their debt load, their family situation. So this is general principles, not a prescription. Talk with a qualified financial advisor, ideally a fee-only fiduciary, about your specific situation. The XY Planning Network is a good place to find one. First framework, the emergency fund floor. Before anything else, before investing, before aggressive debt payoff, I'd want a small cash buffer, not 3 months of expenses, not yet. Just $1,000 in a high-yield savings account. That's the floor, and here's why it matters. Without that buffer, every flat tire, every urgent care visit, every broken phone becomes a financial crisis that wipes out whatever progress you've made. The emergency fund isn't about the money sitting idle. It's about keeping your forward momentum from getting erased by randomness. If the original poster is already building savings slowly, this might be exactly what they're doing. And if so, good. Stay with it. Second framework, the expense audit, or what I call the subscription sweep. I'd spend one evening pulling up 3 months of bank statements and highlighting every recurring charge. Streaming services, app subscriptions, insurance premiums, phone bills. Not to shame myself, just to see where money leaves on autopilot. Most people find somewhere between $50 and $200 a month in charges they forgot about or stopped valuing. That's $600 to $400 a year, real money, and cutting a subscription you don't use doesn't make your life worse. It just stops the leak. Now, here's where it gets complicated, because everything I just said is about defense. Tightening the budget, building the buffer, cutting the leaks, and those matter. But if you're 35 and living paycheck to paycheck, there's a ceiling on how far defense alone can carry you. At some point, the math hits a wall. You can only cut so much before there's nothing left to cut. Which brings me to the third framework, and it's the one I think matters most here. The income expansion principle. Your earning potential is unlimited. Your ability to cut expenses is not. I'm not saying that to be glib. I'm saying it because the original poster sounds like someone who's already disciplined with money. Tight budget. Building savings. The bottleneck probably isn't behavior, it's income. So what does that look like in practice? Start with skills you already have. If you can write freelance, if you can fix things, offer that on a local marketplace. If you have a car, delivery apps aren't glamorous, but they convert time into cash fast. No job is beneath you when you're building. 15 minutes a day is enough to start looking, applying, or building a side income stream. The goal isn't to hustle yourself into the ground. The goal is widening the gap between what comes in and what goes out so your savings grows faster and your budget gets breathing room. And I want to say something about the comparison trap because the original poster mentioned it directly. They wonder if most posts on that subreddit come from people in their 20s. And the implication is clear. Struggling at 25 feels normal. Struggling at 35 feels like you missed a window. But here's what the data actually shows. According to the Federal Reserve's survey of consumer finances, the median American household headed by someone 30 5 to 40, 4 has about $45,000 in retirement savings. That's the median. Half of all households in that age range have less. A lot of people in their mid-30s are closer to the original poster's situation than Instagram would have you believe. The Joneses probably have $10,000 in credit card debt. Fourth framework, the 1% reset. I keep coming back to this one. You don't have to overhaul your entire financial life this week. Find one thing, one expense you can cut, one side income stream worth exploring, one automatic transfer, even if it's $20 a paycheck. Then next month, find one more. Compounding isn't just a math concept for investment returns. It works on habits. Small improvements stacked over 12 months change the trajectory. It always starts with the first dollar. Just a friendly reminder that this episode is intended for entertainment and education purposes only and should not be considered financial or legal advice. The specific post was about being 35 and feeling behind, but the principle underneath it is universal. Progress isn't about where you are on someone else's timeline. It's about whether the line is moving in the right direction. And if you're budgeting tight and building savings, even slowly, the line is moving. That's not failure. That's the whole game. Find what works and repeat it. Find what doesn't work and don't do that again. If you found this helpful, share it with someone dealing with the same thing. Until next time, stay profitable.